Okay.
Am I all set, Nikki?
You're good to go, Chris.
Awesome. Awesome. Look, just want to make sure I'm good. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for McDonald's Beyond the Golden Arches Part 2. Thank you all who joined us last week for a great session covering the general McDonald's history, the brand, high level overview. It was a great conversation, great dialogue. If you didn't catch it, you can rewatch it on the BPS Facebook Live page, and I believe it will be joining YouTube at some point here in the near future. So make sure you go watch that. But tonight, I have the pleasure of starting off the session. My name is Chris Smitherman. Thank you for joining us. And I will be leading this discussion on McDonald's Beyond the Golden Arches Part 2, where we'll be going through a focus on the franchisee side of the business. So first, we'll go through some high-level overview McDonald's material, some stuff that we covered last week over again, but really focusing on the franchise section. And then we actually have a very special guest with us tonight, an owner-operator in the Buffalo area who's been in the McDonald's system for a number of years. I won't introduce her just yet, right? We got to wait till we get there. So got to keep you, build up the suspense, keep you on the wire, keep you on the hook. But she will definitely be telling her story, and an amazing story, her journey through McDonald's. So without further ado, we'll keep going. Can you go to the next slide, please, for us, Nikki? So again, thank you all for joining. My name is Christopher Smitherman II. I'm an operations associate with McDonald's. What that means is I am responsible for assessing brand standards and McDonald's restaurants in the greater Buffalo area, Rochester Southern tier, but I also provide support and assist owner operators in growing sales and guest counts in restaurant operations. So I help with, McDelivery, shift management, people, you name it, drive through, all that stuff. I go in and I help and provide consulting support. And with me tonight, I have my wonderful guest and coworker, Ryan Richardson. Ryan, you might introduce yourself because I'm sure you can do a much better job than me.
I don't know about that, Chris, but thank you. My name is Ryan Richardson, franchise business partner. For those of you that kind of heard a little bit about me last week with Chris, my role is to really work with the owners of the local McDonald's, the franchisees, if you will, which we'll be talking about today, and really helping them to elevate their business, both in our operations and kind of our standards, which we talked a little bit about last week, and really trying to help them gain more sales through the business. So that's a little bit about my role. I know next week for part 3, we're going to dive deep into that. So I'll just give you a little taste of what I do now. And then next week, if you stick around with us, you'll catch more. So back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. And, throughout this presentation, you'll hear me and Ryan go back and forth because we got to make sure that we don't give you too much because, again, we got to keep you on the wire to keep coming back. So sometimes we might dive in a rabbit hole, and I'm going to call Ryan right now to make sure that I don't tell too much so we don't spill the beans for next week. One of the things also before going forward, I will have to joke with everyone who was here last week. I started this presentation like outgoing, really just real passionate, sharing every little detail. So Ryan has made it my personal goal to make sure that I slow it down a little bit this time. We can go through the material, take our time, make sure it all sinks in. So I hope everyone's going to enjoy that for the ride. Nikki, can you take us to the next slide? All right. So again, what we'll be covering today. We'll be talking about McDonald's three-legged stool, so which is how the organization and the brand is structured today. We'll then dive into what is a franchisee. So take a little deeper dive from last week, go into the different components and what that means to be a franchisee at McDonald's. We have our lovely guest, franchisee in the Buffalo area, whose name Perla Gonzalez has joined us tonight, and she will be sharing her story here shortly and her journey through McDonald's, and we'll actually engage in a Q&A where you can ask Perla any questions about her journey through McDonald's and anything you want to know. And then we'll close out with giving you an example of franchisee business structure. So our franchisees are far and wide all over the country, and many of them some own only one restaurant, some own several, and those structures and how they structure their businesses may look different. And so Ryan will actually lead that portion, and we'll take a high-level overview of what some organizations may look like. So before we continue, though, Nikki, next slide, we got to do some housekeeping. We got to take attendance, got to see, I love engagement. I love questions. So we're going to start off with a quick poll So we're going to go with these 3 questions. Nikki, I know, is going to fire that up. So the first thing we want to know is, have you ever worked at McDonald's? And if you are on Facebook Live and can't join in the poll, please throw in the chat box. Feel free to engage. We love to hear it.
Chris, I'm pulling the poll up now. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
While Nikki's pulling up the poll and everybody's answering, Chris, I just wanted to say real quick, when I was growing up, I didn't envision that I would ever be working at McDonald's. It was nothing that really ever crossed my mind. So when you asked this first question, have you ever worked at McDonald's, or would you ever work at McDonald's? It's nothing that really I ever thought it would happen. And, I had the opportunity, I did it, and man, I didn't look back, and I'm so happy and grateful that I did. So I know that there's some people out there that are probably thinking maybe the same thing, but man, you can make a really good career out of it. So I'm gonna let people go ahead and answer, and I'll be quiet now, but just wanted to share my 2 cents.
No, thank you for sharing, Ryan. That's excellent. I agree. My one regret with McDonald's is I didn't start sooner. I truly mean that. I wish I had started earlier. I wish I knew how great of a company and a great of a brand this is, and to be a part of it. I have friends that are part of it. Oh, we got Mark Glasgow. Oh, I know Mark. Yes, Mark has worked at McDonald's before. I remember, Mark, we had a great conversation about how that was your first job. So it's awesome.
Chris, we're just having a little technical difficulty with this poll.
Okay, look, no problem.
I can answer.
I'm sure we have all been there with some technical difficulties over this last COVID world. So, Nikki, if you, I'm sure you are working diligently to make it happen.
Yeah. So we might have to utilize the chat for this one, Chris.
I was going to say that's perfect. So we'll just utilize the chat for this one. So everyone just throw in the chat, have you ever worked at McDonald's? And then you can follow that up with, would you ever work at McDonald's, and give us an explanation. You can go in rapid succession, yes, no, and then give us a little something. This is always fun, getting people typing, getting people engaged, keeping people going. I know it's 6 o'clock, but I know you all have some pep still.
I got my coffee to get my second win. So
hey, look, that's what I'm talking about. I'm still not done for the day. As I told you, Ryan, it's my fiance's birthday, so we got dinner tonight. As soon as we hop out of here, I'm gonna be going downtown. Okay,
somebody wrote in.
Yep, somebody wrote, I would want to work there, but I never got called back for an interview. Okay. Heather, yep, Heather says you love it. Zion says, no, I've not worked there before. The reason why I don't want to do it because right now is you have no interest in McDonald's. Okay, well, listen, Zion, tonight, Ryan and I are going to make it our personal mission to change your mind. You are going to have an interest in working at McDonald's after tonight. Daniel says, no, I've not. No, I've not. Okay. Xavier says, I've never worked there. I don't think I will want to. And he said, the stigma, I think. I was like, Ryan, we have time to dive into that, or should we just let our presentation speak for itself? What do you think?
Well, I don't know if Xavier was with us last week or not, but we try to answer some of the stigma questions last week. We'll try to answer some of them today and next week as well on part 3. So stick with us, Xavier. I think you'll see that there's some things out there that people just don't realize about McDonald's. There's one thing that you probably do realize, and that's the golden arches. You see them all over the place, but there's a lot of power and benefits behind the golden arches as well. So we'll dive into some of that today and next week.
Yeah, no, good stuff, Ryan. Good stuff. So I see some stuff in here. People say they've worked. Some people say they love. Some people say that they've loved working at McDonald's. We got some people saying that they've never worked there. And some people have said that other people called them back first. Makes total sense. Listen, we're going to wait tonight. We're going to make you wish that you had waited for that call from McDonald's. I'm telling you. All right. But so thank you for that housekeeping. Ryan and I appreciate it. And we will get into the bulk of our presentation tonight. So Nikki, can you take us to the next slide? Okay. So we got the 3 at McDonald's. We like to call it the 3-legged stool, right? And if anyone sees and knows what a 3-legged stool is, I'm sure many of you do, or you can envision it You've got 3 legs that stabilize the top of that stool that allow you to sit on it, or whatever you put on the stool, it allows it to be stabilized. So at McDonald's, we've got 3 components that hold this great brand together. The first is the franchisee. And a franchisee is an individual or company that holds a franchise for the sale of goods or the operation of a service. Our franchisees are the independent owner operators of our McDonald's restaurants that are in every city in every city in the US, if not, and in many places in the world as well. Okay. And Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, 97% of all McDonald's restaurants are owned and operated by franchisees, independent franchisee, correct?
It might not be that high, it might be 95%, but if you think about 14,000 restaurants in the United States, 95% is still a pretty high number.
Okay, yeah, pretty high number. I know it fluctuates from here and there, but I appreciate you. This is why Ryan keeps me honest, everyone. Ryan keeps me focused and on the right track. So 95% of our restaurants are owned by independent franchisees. Okay, the next term is a franchisor. And the franchisor is an individual or company that sells or grants a franchise for the sale of goods or the operation of a service. So McDonald's Corporation is the franchisor in this instance, and that is the entity that Ryan and myself are employed by, right? Again, we are the franchisor and the franchisee work together, but they are separate organizations. They are separate entities. Okay. And by the way, if you're not taking notes, I highly recommend it, because there is going to be a fun little game at the end to test your knowledge and retention. So just a little FYI, a little hint there. Okay. The last part of the stool is our suppliers. And that is a person or organization that provides something needed, such as a product or a service. So many of you may probably know Tyson Chicken. That Tyson Chicken is a supplier of McDonald's chicken and products in our restaurants. We have several other suppliers that you may not think of. How many people, I'm sure, drive or know someone who drives for DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, Postmates. Those are all suppliers in our system. They're partners with us in the business. And without those suppliers, McDonald's could not do what it does every day. Okay, all of the bags that our food is put in, all the fry boxes, all the buns, every piece of everything comes from a supplier. And so again, I really want to emphasize this part because without these 3 components, McDonald's could not be the brand of what it is. Okay, if there's a break in supply chain with something, that affects our franchisees, that affects our ability to deliver great quality service to our customers. If without our franchisees running restaurants at the front lines, making things happen, we can't provide good service. So it takes all of us working together as partners to really push the great, keep the arches shining brightly. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna just run it. Ryan got me saying it. Keep the arches shining brightly. The McDonald's you all know and love is in part because of these 3 legs of the stool. Before I continue, Ryan, do you want to add anything?
No, I think, Chris, you covered off on it pretty well. So what I would say about the suppliers is I know Chris talked about Tyson Chicken. We have some other brands that you probably can see and think of, and when you go grocery shopping or you go to the store, you may have even seen McDonald's coffee in the stores, right? But when you think about that supplier, I would also include vendors, right? So there's other people that we would call vendors. That's more of, and I'm not discounting what Chris said, but that's more of the Postmates, the DoorDash, the Grubhub. They're helping, they're partners with us, right? And they vendor some of our products. So I would just tag that on. And then as far as the franchisor, so I'm going to pick at random. And I'm sorry, Xavier, I'm going to pick on you. But if you think about the franchisor, right? What that is it means that you are part of McDonald's, right? We are the Golden Arches. If Xavier was to open up his own burger stand and they called Xavier's Burger Stand, he's probably not going to sell as many burgers as McDonald's, because McDonald's is the Golden Arches. That's that stigma that you're talking about, right? That's what you see all those videos online, all that stuff. But think about 14,000 McDonald's in the US, and you might see a bad video here, a bad video there. There's a lot of good that's happening too at the same time. So I know what you're saying in the back of your mind. You're like, I see these videos online. I see fights in the lobby, or I see all these things about the food or whatever. I'm telling you, stick around for part three. We'll go through the food piece, but there's a lot of really good things that are happening at McDonald's too. So stick with us. I'll flip it back over to you, Chris.
No, look, thank you, Ryan. Always appreciate it. We make a good team. We're going to have to do some of this stuff more often after this one, man. I already got some more ideas going. Nikki, can you take us to the next slide, please? So, let's have some fun. Here on the screen, I've got some famous people, that former employees that worked at McDonald's, right? Many of you, some of you out there who said you worked at McDonald's, look, you are among these individuals that you may recognize that have worked there. In the top left, we've got Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon, right? I know everybody here knows Amazon. I'm sure a package has shown up at your door at some point in life, especially with COVID happening. Okay. I have a couple on the way. Jeff Bezos spent some time working at McDonald's. He's
also the richest man in the world right now. So
yes,
are up there with Tesla up there. So one of the richest men in the world worked at McDonald's. So
yeah, Elon Musk and him can fight it out, penny for penny. But no, that is he got his start at McDonald's. Next, we've got Pharrell, right? Everybody know, famous singer or songwriter. Okay, we got Pink, famous singer as well. At the bottom left under Jeff, we've got Bernadette Williams, who is served as the editor-in-chief of Working Women's Magazine. We've got Rico Hizon, CNBC Asia in 1999. And we've got Star Jones, who's a famous talk show host. And these are just some of the many famous people who got their start at McDonald's. Jay Leno has spent some time at McDonald's. I'm blanking, but there's a long list of people that have all gotten their start and spent time at this restaurant. And, I think it's a great example leading into this, because to your point, Xavier, many people have a stigma about McDonald's or may have these things about it. Yet all of these people credit part of their success in life to their time they spent at McDonald's, for various reasons. But without that pinnacle step in their life, they could not be where they are today. So, next slide. If we can go to the next slide, Nikki. Okay, so McDonald's was founded in 1955. And we want to just do this, kind of talking about the franchise corporation, just to give you a perspective of our growth as a brand. So in 1955, there were 2 stores, and both of those stores generated $193,000 in revenue that year. Right now, for any of you who do not know this, the restaurant and food industry is definitely a penny profit business. So while it did generate this, just keep that in mind that this is how much money it generated, but these aren't profits that were kept after that, right? So then, since then, in our 65-year history, 2019, at the end of 2019, we had 38,695 restaurants that generated over $100 billion in revenue that year. So I think that's an incredible growth. Many people credit, our founder, Ray Kroc. No one has done this before in history. This is truly spectacular. And it just shows the reach of our brand. And these number of stores is global. So it's not just in the United States. We have about 14,000 restaurants in the United States. So that leaves some, if I can do quick math, a little close to 25,000 restaurants that are all over the world in every country. One of the things I like to remember is I spent some time in Korea in 2017, and I was there for a while. And I really, for a month there, I didn't really have American food or food I was familiar with. Well, on my last day there, before I got on a plane, I saw a McDonald's, and I was able to stop in and get some chicken nuggets and fries. It's my go-to thing at McDonald's. And it was just a great feeling to just have some familiar food that I knew after a long stint there. But it just shows the power of the brand. We got arches everywhere. All right. And with that, so with some also quick math, I love math, everyone, by the way. In 2019, if you do math, divide the total revenue by the number of stores, that the average restaurant generated $2.5 million in sales. Now, again, that's not profits. That's just total revenue that came through that restaurant. So if you look at every McDonald's restaurant in on your corner in Buffalo, whatever's closest to you, the average restaurant generates that much money a year. Okay, so that means there's a lot of power on that corner. A lot of people are going there. A lot of people know the brand, respect the brand, value the brand. It's very powerful. So I don't know if I'm selling everybody, but Xavier, look, I'm thinking about you, man. I'm thinking about it. Right, Ryan. Again, anything before I continue?
No, I think you spoke about it well. I think there is a lot of power in the brand. I think that there's a lot of avenues in the brand, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more. I hate to keep saying it next week, but if you're passionate about something, I'm just looking at some of the names. So Tommy, and Daniel and Darnell. If you guys are passionate about something, McDonald's has a job for you. And I know you guys probably look and there's that stigma, or that's I'm just flipping burgers or I'm making French fries. There's a lot of other avenues in McDonald's that are for you. Now you have to work hard to get there, but nothing comes easy, right? So there is a position or a job for you where you can fit in your passion into there, and those two things can marry up. Back over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan has had some more McDonald's experience than myself, so I always like to just lean on him because he's got those great little tidbits and a way of talking and communicating with people. So when I have some stuff, I always like to lean on him. If I'm like, hey, let me see if I can get a little something extra. So thank you, Ryan, as always. Next slide, Nikki. Now, transitioning into the meat and potatoes of what we're here to talk about tonight. So again, we talked about the 3 legs of the stool last week. This focus is just on the franchisee. So, franchisees are the independent owners, companies that staff, manage, and operate McDonald's restaurant. 95% of McDonald's restaurants in the USA are owned by a franchisee. I mean, 95% of most of the McDonald's is in your neighborhood, in your area, are owned by somebody that's local, that lives in your city, that lives in your area, that's invested in the area just like you are, right? It's not somebody who's off, in another country, or somebody who's super far away. They live here, they live in the communities, and they go and probably have the same favorite food spots and do the same things that you all do. You probably have been in the same space as an owner. You just didn't know they were an owner. Okay. So franchisees are a critical part of the McDonald's system. They are at the front lines of restaurant operations, driving the business by providing quality customer service experience to millions of customers each year. It's important to note that each franchise owner has some McDonald's restaurant experience. And what do we mean by that? No McDonald's owner-operator became an owner-operator without working in the restaurant. So Ryan said this last week, which I thought was a great pivot. We talked about Jeff Bezos earlier on the slide, arguably richest man in the world, right? Just because he is the richest man in the world does not mean that McDonald's will allow him to buy restaurants right now. Okay, if he came in with all his money and said, I want to buy all the restaurants, McDonald's would say a big N-O so fast, I'm confident it would happen, because every owner-operator is required to spend time in the restaurant, to work their way up. We want individuals who are committed to McDonald's, who know McDonald's, and entrust to run those restaurants great and provide quality service and cleanliness to our customers on every visit. So, again, each owner-operator is required to have completed a certain number of restaurant hours, and that means even be able to apply. You have all of that knowledge that you learned spending in the restaurant. You have to apply that, to the bigger picture. And why does this matter? Nikki, take me to the next slide. So this is a quote from our founder, Ray Kroc. And I recently read his book, Grinding It Out, an excellent book. I think anyone, even if you don't have an interest after this in coming in over to McDonald's or in exploring McDonald's, I recommend you read it. It's a great book. And his quote is, McDonald's doesn't confer success on anyone. It takes guts and staying power to make it with one of our restaurants. At the same time, it doesn't require any unusual aptitude or intellect. Any man and written at the time, 1970, any man or woman with common sense, dedication to principles, and a lot of hard work can do it. So really, the McDonald's was founded on the principles that people were invested in the restaurant. People were passionate about this business. People really wanted to say, hey, I have my restaurant. I want to grow. I want to take it to the next level. And that's what we value. So if you come in with a bunch of millions and millions and millions of dollars, we're not looking for that. We're looking for people. You do have to have a financial contribution. I don't want to take away from that. But what I want to say is that you have to have that restaurant experience. You have to have that restaurant background in order to be eligible to be a franchise owner one day, in order to be successful in this business. And with that, can you take us to the next slide, Nikki? I want to let everybody know on this call, right? If you're watching now, you're here on Zoom, Facebook Live, or you're watching this recorded at some distant future, you dig this up out of the ground in a time capsule, you can become a McDonald's franchise owner. Okay, that's a very powerful statement. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing right now, you have the ability to become a franchise owner. You can make it happen. Okay. This is something that I myself was really not knowledgeable or aware of until I came over to McDonald's. It's something that I wasn't thinking about growing up. It just wasn't on my radar. And I want this message to permeate with everyone here because it's really powerful and important that no matter where you are in your life, no matter what you're doing, you have the ability to come into the McDonald's system, work hard, grind it out, as Ray Kroc would say, and become a franchise owner. And with that beautiful soliloquy there, I like to, if I do say so myself, I'd like to introduce tonight's speaker with us, Perla Gonzalez. Perla Gonzalez is an owner operator in the Buffalo area. She owns several restaurants in Buffalo. And before I say anything else, I don't want to tarnish or ruin anything. I'm going to turn it over to Perla so she can share her wonderful story and her journey through McDonald's with all of you tonight. So Perla, I'm passing it over to you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep,
We can hear you loud and clear.
Well, hello, everyone, and good evening. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Christopher, for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight, to tell my McDonald's story. My name is Perla Gonzalez. I was born and raised in Mexico, of humble beginnings. My father wanted his young family to grow up in the United States, the land of opportunity, he would say. This was his dream. I came to the United States when I was 12. I grew up in Chicago, went to school in Chicago, had wonderful, caring teachers. I got married in Chicago and have 3 daughters and 6 grandchildren. Like my father, I too had a dream. I wanted to own my own food business, a restaurant. My uncle owned a restaurant. My mother-in-law owned a restaurant. I would start out small, maybe a taco stand, I thought. There was a small food stand near my house. Maybe it could be mine. But the timing was not right. For 20 years, I worked in the administrative medical field. My daughters were in college. I managed to save. This time, it was the right time to look into owning a food place business, my restaurant. I began to look, searching for an opportunity, did a lot of reading, made a lot of phone calls, interviewed people. I listened. I learned that owning a franchise has impressive success statistics, a much safer bet than going independent. And I wanted to be successful, to be the best that I could be. So where to start? At the top, of course, with the best, McDonald's. McDonald's is a leader in the quick service restaurant industry with a solid, proven record. I would be my own boss and have the support of a great company. I love McDonald's. The whole family loved McDonald's. We spent family time at McDonald's. And so I called McDonald's Corporation, requested an application for a franchise, completed it, and mailed it. Oh my God, it was such an exciting time when I received the call for an interview. I could not believe it. And that energy is still with me today. An on-the-job evaluation was scheduled, followed by an in-depth financial status evaluation. I agreed to be placed into a McDonald's training program on a part-time basis, working evenings and weekends. No pay, by the way, and I still had to manage my full-time job. It took me 2.5 years to complete the program. It was no ordinary process. It was an amazing time. I had the opportunity to experience the business, the restaurant. A McDonald's restaurant is fascinating, and the experience working in the restaurant is simply super awesome. The training program takes you through restaurant operations, training staff, advertising, marketing, human resources, real estate, construction, purchasing, and equipment purchasing and maintenance. It includes seminars, conferences, and sessions with corporate staff. It is a comprehensive training program, one that provides the applicant, the prospective franchisee, with all the tools and resources needed to become a successful McDonald's franchisee. And McDonald's was always present, always supportive, and always ready with all the tools needed to accomplish a task. Ray Kroc, McDonald's founder, truly believed in treating his franchisees as equal partners. This was said genius to his success, and I couldn't agree more. Upon completion of the program, I was offered a new restaurant in southeastern Ohio. The support offered by McDonald's was extraordinary. You are in business for yourself, but not by yourself. The regional personnel actually relocated to where the new restaurant was being built in order to support and assist in the opening. And I became Mrs. McDonald's in the town of Woodsfield, Ohio. Loving our customers, dedicated to my staff, involved in the community, and committed to the day-to-day operations of the restaurant. I witnessed my staff experience their first job, young people working through high school, college. Many moved into management and other fields, both in and outside of McDonald's. They learned about leadership, teamwork, integrity, and community, valuable skills and experience to help further their education, skills they could apply in their daily lives, perhaps their next job. To some, a job at McDonald's is just a stepping stone to bigger and better opportunities. To some, a job at McDonald's is a career opportunity with a leading corporation. It opens doors to accounting, legal, public relations, marketing, sales, and so many other careers. To many, a job at McDonald's is simply an opportunity to earn money, flexible hours, and to meet people and make people happy. And to me, all this is the making of immense personal satisfaction and business success. My husband, Del Bustos, and I opened 2 more restaurants, one in oil alliance with a gas company, and we acquired a 4th restaurant in Ohio. We relocated to Buffalo, New York for another opportunity. We now own 5 restaurants in the greater Buffalo market, and our daughter, Diane Bustos, is an owner-operator with 1 restaurant. And our daughter, Laura Bustos, is office business administrator. We face many challenges in our restaurants every day, but always look with optimism for what unfolds tomorrow. The journey of becoming a McDonald's franchisee is not easy. There's strict criteria to meet before becoming an owner-operator. But I had to be true to my dream, and I stayed the course. Owning a McDonald's restaurant is my dream come true. It is the American dream. I'm grateful to McDonald's for their partnership and to all the people who have helped along the way, my staff, I could not do it without them, and my family for their support and encouragement, and for being a part of this great journey to be a McDonald's franchisee. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank
Perla.
you.
Perla, thank you so much for sharing. That's the first time I've heard that story, and wow, thank you for sharing. I'm definitely inspired, and I got a lot of passion. So you really got me riled up, Perla. So with that, I'd like to go to the next slide, Nikki, but we would like to open it up. Thank you again, Perla, for sharing. Because she's here, we want to hear from you. What questions do you have for Perla? What do you all want to know about the process to becoming an owner operator? I know Perla said a lot of things, but this is your chance and your opportunity to just drop it in the chat. And Nikki, I know we have some people on Facebook as well. So I know because you just monitor that and shout them out or let us know what questions we got.
Yeah, and don't be afraid if you guys have questions about the journey, right? I think Perla shared a lot about her journey, how she started, where she was at, where she came from. A lot of people, maybe in a different spot, right? And they have questions. They have, hey, how do I get involved? How can I do something like this? So for sure, ask those questions.
Yeah, I believe we have a question. Xavier's raising his hand.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So I just want to ask probably like the type of college experience you got, or if any that was like needed for your position.
Business management.
All right.
So I would say, Xavier, I know a lot of owners. I work with a lot of different owners. They all have different educational levels. I don't think a college degree is required to become an owner operator, but I think the higher level of education that you have, the better off you're positioning yourself just to be a business owner in general, whether that's McDonald's or whether that's you opening up your own place. So I think it's a great question. I think that's the crux of everything that you want to do. So I would just say continue your education.
All right.
Good question though.
I know. We got a question from Nikki in the chat. Perla, it's what is the most rewarding part of your job?
It is my staff, my people, seeing them grow within the restaurant, helping them achieve their dreams. That's what it's about.
No, thank you. I would actually piggyback off that. McDonald's is a people business that sells hamburgers, is what we like to say. And we really pride ourselves on the way that we treat our people, all the people in our organization, and the brand. So, no, echo that 100%, Perla.
I've got a question. While they're trying to type up questions, Perla. So, what was the most difficult part of it all? I mean, you were a mother. You're working full time, trying to, you're a registered applicant on the weekends. I mean, there was a lot of balls that you had to juggle. What was the most difficult part of it all?
I think it was a challenge to juggle all the pieces. But I had that passion. I wanted to get there. So I just stayed the course, stayed on it. And there were times when I thought, oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore. And then I'd go back and say, oh no, I got to finish this. And that's when the family comes in with their support and encouragement. So I did it.
Oh, thank you, Perla. We got some questions. These are probably coming from Facebook. You just answered that one. Was family support important to your success with McDonald's? You just hit it. And how long was the process? You said 2.5 years, correct, Perla?
2.5 years, and that was done part-time. You do some closes on weekends and some openings on Sunday mornings. So it takes a little while. Some people dedicate their time full-time to the program, and it can be done in a lot less time, probably half the time.
All right. And then, and I know we see Mark. Mark, you got your hand up. What question you got for us tonight?
Oh, yeah. So, hi, everyone. My name is Mark Glasgow. Thank you very much, Perla, for sharing your story. That was excellent to hear. I myself got my start at McDonald's as well many years ago when I was working in college here in Buffalo. So I have two questions for you. The first question is, can you talk a little bit about how you prepared yourself in applying and as far as preparing your application for McDonald's to be a franchise owner, as well as can you talk a little bit about how you connect with and engage your staff at all levels of your stores of McDonald's?
So, Mark, the application that I submitted back in the day was a paper application, name, address, phone number, references, financials, etc. So pretty simple, put in an envelope. Today, I'm sure that all of that is done online. So, but back then it was putting in an envelope and putting it in a mailbox. So when I got that phone call, oh my God, I cannot begin to tell you. So it was very exciting. In terms of the staff, you need to get to know your staff. You need to talk to your staff. And you always need to make sure that you get to know them also. Diane, do you have anything on that, on people? Diane is here with me. Diane is also an owner operator.
The easiest way that I find to engage them is to get to know them. So you have to spend time in the restaurants. It could just be something small, like, maybe they had COVID a couple months ago. Ask them how they're feeling or what their favorite position in the restaurant might be. And as long as you engage them, then they know that you're taking the time to care about them, and they will hopefully, in turn, work diligently.
Does that help you, Mark?
Yes, definitely. Was there anything that you felt as far as your candidacy as an applicant help you stand out amongst other people?
Well, yes. I was managing a medical corporation. I also had a horse boarding business that, I took care of, and a bookkeeping service because I helped doctors set up their offices. So that was a little bit of what made me interesting to the company, I believe.
Great. We got another question here, Perla. What types of leadership opportunities do you provide to those working for you? So
there's a roadmap that we start out with our employees, and it goes from one position to another.
We go from crew to crew trainer, shift manager, department manager, general manager, and then from there, the sky's pretty much the limit. You can go into the corporate side if that's your dream. You can stay within the company. Heather, who is our director of operations, I know she went through the McDonald's program, and now she's more behind the scenes and overseeing the company as a whole. We've had people who've graduated as shift managers and go on to accounting, nursing. I mean, we try and help everybody get to where they want to go.
Oh, that's great. Again, McDonald's and Perla said it earlier, they're committed to helping people get to where they want to go and following their dreams and their passions. Next question we got is, and this is more of an interesting one, do you help? Well, it's similar to your what you just answered, but do you help other individuals become franchise owners?
I would love to do that. And yes, the opportunities are there to see where our staff is, to seek that opportunity for our employees. We would point them in the right direction. And I think, Ryan, you can probably attest to that a little bit. because you worked in the restaurants, while you were in college. And then
Went to the
you
corporate.
you worked for a franchisee, and then you went to work for McDonald's Corporation.
Yeah, so like I started to say in the beginning before Perla's story is there's a job for you, right? If you're interested in something, McDonald's has the opportunities for you. It's just the work and dedication that you got to put in. I would say the majority of the owners that I work with, Perla being one of them, would love to have the opportunity to take an employee if they were dedicated and hardworking enough and rose to the ranks and could do everything to, I think they would all support them to become a franchise owner here locally, or if they wanted to move. I think that would be kind of, I think, a dream for a lot of operators, because they know what it was like, right? They know they worked hard for it. And so anything that they could do to support you, if that was your dreams, if that was your aspirations, I think they would love to support that. So yeah.
And I'm gonna throw this in there just as a funny joke, but Perla, look, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, because I know you helped the young lady right next to you. I'm sure you were a guide to her as she went through the process herself. So, again, they'd love to help, and Perla's got experience doing it. So I'm sure you're great at it, Perla. Next question we got is, what is something you learned along the way that would help someone starting or continuing in the business?
I'd say stay the course, like you keep saying, even if somebody tries to derail you.
I think organizing yourself, being true to that dream.
You may run into some people who think maybe you're not the right fit, but if it really is your dream and this is what you want, don't let anyone tell you
Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you go after what you want and go get it.
Stay the course.
Thank you. And I know I got to get Ryan got his question. I got to get a question in, but I think it's important for the audience to know, how have you all managed being business owners through COVID, through the pandemic, and how has it impacted you all?
It's been extremely challenging. We care very much about our staff. We want to keep everyone safe and well. Diane, you're in the restaurants all the time. Maybe you can talk a little bit
there
more
was a
about it.
lot of transition as the states went through the initial phases of it with PPE, and we have these plastic, I'm sure if you've been a customer at McDonald's, seen them, barriers that try and protect them. If somebody did in fact perhaps think they were ill, we immediately removed them from the restaurant, and we looked at who was in close contact with them and removed them as well, because we don't want anyone to get sick. And if they did get sick, Heather, who I mentioned before, she would follow up with them and just call them to see how they were doing and when their return to work date was, and if they were planning on it, because some people were frightened and decided they didn't want to come back. And then we, of course, we're so grateful for the people who showed up for work every day. So there was a lot of, and we're still doing it, candy, donuts, just little perks, little things to make them a little happier and grateful, to show our appreciation and gratefulness that they came to work.
Wow, that's pretty powerful, and thank you for sharing, Diane. I know we can't see you, but as Pearl mentioned, Diane, her daughter is an owner operator as well here in Buffalo. I see the question in the chat, so I want to ask you, and I think what they're asking is more of that journey from Ohio to Buffalo. They asked specifically, were you asked to relocate to Buffalo? Was it a choice? How did that transpire? If you could tell us a little bit more about it.
Someone mentioned an opportunity for more restaurants in Buffalo. And that was the word among operators and corporate staff at the time. So I inquired. I am somewhat connected to Buffalo. And I love Southeastern Ohio, most wonderful people there. And that's how I started my career. It was wonderful. But my connection to Buffalo, my father was in Buffalo during the war, the Second World War. he was contracted by the government to come and work here. And so when it was mentioned to me that there may be an opportunity for more restaurants in Buffalo, I just had to come and look. And, you know, I love Buffalo. It also reminds me of Chicago, where I grew up, except the city is smaller and the lake is on the wrong side. But so that's what brought me here. It was that sense of I am going to be able to maybe grow the business, hopefully bring my daughters into the business. So that's how I got here.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I see one last question in the chat, and I'm going to say last call for questions because I know we just got to stay on time here. So the last question that I see here in the chat right now is, if you are looking to become a franchise owner, should you start building business credit first?
Yes.
Business credits for school?
You mean in school? Is that correct? Is the question? Business credits?
Yeah, I would assume business credits. I don't know where who submitted the
I would
question.
definitely encourage people to stay in school, get your education, study the business models that are out there,
Accounting,
work, you know, like accounting and
HR.
especially. Work in the restaurants because I don't know, I just love it. When I'm in the restaurant, it's a completely different world. I mean, you kind of get lost in it, and it's so rewarding what you do there. So that would be my advice.
I'd also like to add for our crew, our teams, our managers, you know, we do everything in our power to keep them with us because they're so marketable. And once you put on your resume that you've worked at McDonald's, people want to snap you up. They know that you've got customer service experience, you're handling cash and you know how to handle cash, and people are just looking for the hospitality. So we try very hard to keep all our people happy.
Thank you for sharing, Perla and Diane. Part B to that question, I think they wanted some clarification here. It's more like credit, like you know, your credit score. I would assume, you want to have a good credit score to become a business owner, right?
Yes,
if you wanted to buy a house, you got to have a good credit. So yeah, if you don't have credit now, I would definitely recommend that you know, start to build up some of that credit now.
Absolutely. And make sure it is pristine. It's incredibly important that those financials are in line. Your credit history is good.
And that's, you know, that holds true not just for McDonald's, but for really any business. You want to have good credit to help ensure that you have success. McDonald's, because we're such a large brand, though, helps to kind of provide some guardrails and ensure that, you know, you've really got a lot of protection there as far as credit. I want to thank Perla for her time. Thank you for answering all the questions. Thank you for telling your story. I think it was incredibly impactful. You know, I've known Perla for, I don't know, maybe a dozen years now. It doesn't seem like it, but it's been probably at least 10 to 12 years. And, you know, it was a ton of great information, a ton of great, you know, fantastic story. So thank you for everything that you've done this evening and that you continue to do, not only for the brand, but I think you guys should also know the impact that a lot of these owner operators have in the community and what they're trying to do and help out in our local community. So Perla, I know, helps provide food for the Ronald McDonald House on a regular basis. And I know we talked a lot about that last week. So there's a lot that these owner operators are still doing, and she's doing to this day. I did want to take a moment and kind of transition a little bit and tell you guys a little bit more about the franchisee structure. So I know we've talked tonight a lot about the franchisee. You know, we had Perla and share her wonderful story, but I thought it would be great for you to kind of see exactly how a lot of these organizations structure themselves. So you can see on the screen here a small owner operator organization. So maybe just one store or two stores that they own. An owner operator would have a general manager underneath them. and then shift managers and crew underneath them. So Nikki, I think this is actually a build to slide, if you will. Yeah, you could see that they would have that structure in place where it's the owner operator, the general manager reports to the owner operator, and those shift managers and crew report to the general manager. In between the general manager and shift managers, not on the screen, is what we call department managers usually, or assistant managers. Typically there's 3 of those in a restaurant. There could be more, there could be less, just depending on the organizational structure. But like I said, those report back up to the general manager, and then the general manager would have direct contact with the owner operator, working on whatever the particular owner would want them to be working on, whether that's, hey, we need to get better with our hospitality, we need to get better with, you name it, drive-through, we got to be faster. Whatever that is, there's that communication piece there where they're really working in conjunction together to drive the business forward. That bottom bar, the shift managers, typically what I see in an average restaurant is about 10 to 12 shift managers per restaurant. So there might be less, there might be more, but usually there's about 10 to 12 shift managers. So if you think about it, shift managers run a shift, 8-hour shift, typically a day. But there's a lot of crossover. So if I was to come in at 8 a.m. and Chris was to come in at 10 or 12, we're crossing over. So throughout the day, 5 to 6 shift managers may work. And then, 5 or 6 may have off that day. So that's kind of the layout of a smaller organizational structure. On the next slide, this is kind of a mid-sized organization in McDonald's. So you can see very similar as far as the vertical, right, going up and down. We've got our owner operators, and then there's a new layer in there though. There's the supervisor. So a structure like this size may be anywhere from, 3 restaurants to maybe 8 restaurants, possibly 5 or 6. Where they may have a supervisor that's kind of an intermediate between the owner operator and the general managers. And really, it would be more of the direct communication from the operator, like Perla, to a supervisor to help drive whatever initiatives it is in the restaurant that they want to get better at. And then that information cascades down to the supervisor. All right, and then it would come back up as well, providing some of that feedback. So on that same level of supervisors, you can see on the screen here, there may have a training supervisor or a training coordinator. And I know Perla mentioned when she was talking about her office manager. So she has an office, she has somebody there, that would kind of work the books, if you will, right? They would work all the money coming in, all the money going out to pay bills. Because, when you think about a McDonald's, you think about the food, the burgers, the fries, all that, but we got to pay for the electricity, you got to pay for the gas, you got to pay for, the internet, the phone bill, just like your house, you got to pay for all those bills. So when you start to build out and have a bigger organization like that, you kind of need somebody to help you in the back office to do all that. That person may also play part of the HR role sometimes as well, where they're trying to help people with sick days or anything like that to keep it all organized. So I don't think I've missed anything. Chris, do you have any texture that you would want to add in here if I missed anything?
No, man. You did a great job covering it. The one thing I would just want to say too, with the arrows too, not only is it reporting, but it's also to indicate upward mobility. So if you're a member, so let's say you come into the restaurant, you work or interested in working in McDonald's, you can start as a crew person, work your way up to a shift manager, then general manager. And in this organization structure, there's actually an opportunity for you could work up to be a supervisor. You could transition over and to be that office manager. Again, you got to have a knowledge of McDonald's, how the system works, how the bills need to get paid, how things need to get done, transition there. You could transition over to be a training supervisor where you're responsible for training all of the crew with orientation, training the shift managers, making sure that the organization's honed well, and then you have the owner operator up top. So that's the only other thing I would add in there, but you did a great job covering it.
Thanks, Chris. And then on to the next slide, the large organization. So this is an organizational size that, it might be more than 8 restaurants. There are owner operators in our McDonald's system, none in this area, that own over 100 restaurants, which if you think about it, that's really complex. So they have to have this huge structure where they have a lot more supervisors. They might have a director of operations or a president. But in those cases, they usually have, like Chris said, they have branches kind of splitting off of them. And you can kind of see here of like an HR director, a training supervisor, accountant, CPAs, office manager. They may have all of these people that work kind of underneath them or report to them in a larger organization structure like this. So there are some larger organizations within the Buffalo area, the Rochester area, that kind of fill some roles like this, are very similar structured like this. But like I said earlier and last week, there's a role for you. So there might be a technology role. Maybe you're really into the technology aspect of business. We have a ton of technology at McDonald's. So everything from our mobile app to DoorDash and Uber. I know you probably don't think of that as technology, but we didn't have that 5 years ago, right? Something new that you can order your food and get it delivered to your house. There's a ton of different things, whether that's from our register systems, all that. Maintenance. So, anybody that's really good with their hands and likes to take things apart, put them back together. We have a ton of equipment, a ton of machines at McDonald's. So, those are the aspects of the business that I don't think a lot of people look at when they look at a McDonald's. They just see the burgers and the fries. That stigma, if you will, that Xavier talked about in the beginning. So there's a lot more to it. So like I said, whatever your passion is, I'm sure McDonald's has a job or there's some spinoff of it that we can really help utilize your passion, your tools, your resources, your expertise in McDonald's. So on the next slide, I kind of wanted to give an applied example. So here is an example of a franchise owner that owns 5 restaurants. They have 1 supervisor to manage all 5 of the restaurants. So this means that each restaurant has its own general manager. They have their own department managers or assistant managers. Then they have a team of shift managers and crew underneath them. So within this organization, at its current state, if you go in and you start as a crew person, you have the opportunity to move up to that shift manager level. And then from there, you have the opportunity to kind of move up into upper management, if you will. Those assistant supervisors, potentially a general manager role, and continue your development to become one of those 5 general managers. And then you could potentially move up to the supervisor role. I will say that a lot of owner operators or a lot of franchisees, they're looking to acquire more restaurants from time to time. So if they expand from 5 restaurants to 10 restaurants, they may need another 1 or 2 supervisors. So if you're one of those general managers that are with them, you may have an opportunity to go up to that supervisor level or branch out to a training manager or do some of those things. So you could potentially continue to grow. If you saved up enough money, spent enough time in the restaurant, you're passionate enough about it. Like I said, you could become an owner operator one day. So you have that ability. Everybody here has that ability if they wanted to. So like I said, many people just look at McDonald's as just a job, but I'm here to tell you that it can be a career. I think I said up front today, I didn't grow up when I was 9, 10 years old, whatever, 16 years old, 18 years old, thinking, man, I want to work at McDonald's. It never dawned on me. But here I am 16 years later, started, working at McDonald's during college, and I won't get into my whole story because I'm gonna share it next week. And it's become a career. It started off as a part-time job and now it's a career. So it can happen. It's just really up to you what you want to make of it. But you don't really have to hear it from me. You heard it today from Perla, an owner that grew up in Mexico, right? Came to the U.S. with a dream, and she fulfilled that dream. And she's really executed it and done some fantastic things. So next, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Chris. Chris.
Oh, sure thing, Ryan. Thank you. And by the way, I gotta put a little bit of something out there. So anybody watching right now, Buff State alum, Ryan is a proud Buff State alum. So if you are watching right now, I got to give you a little more something to come back next week and support your alum as he's going to tell his story about McDonald's. I'll jump in. I'm definitely still green with McDonald's. I joined the brand almost 2 years ago. I was in the same boat as Ryan, though. I never thought that I would, growing up, be working for McDonald's. And then I have a passion for operations. McDonald's had a position. I applied and I was fortunate enough to be granted the position. And, similar, I just want to touch on this, similar to Perla, McDonald's definitely wants to take people. If people are willing to move and to take opportunity, McDonald's will have a place for you. And so I was in Cincinnati, Ohio. So, Perla started, came from Chicago, Midwest, all good stuff. I love the Midwest, everyone. Please don't hurt me. I'm not a Bills fan, Bengals all day. Just got that out there. But no, seriously, they said, hey, would you like to relocate to Buffalo, New York, and support our restaurant and our brand up in Buffalo? Didn't know anything about it, but I came here, I made a home for myself. And I really credit people like Ryan, owners in the area like Perla, for really giving me the scoop on what was in Buffalo and welcoming me to the area. So just going to throw my 2 cents, but you'll hear more about my story next week as well. I'm not going to tell everything. So before we, move into the final section of this, I want to just take the time to allow anyone to ask any last minute questions you have of Ryan or myself. Anything today that you saw or any question that we didn't answer that you really just want to get answered now. Thank you.
I think I would just add in, Chris, too, if you guys have questions for Perla, I think she might still be on, but if she's not, I know she'd be gracious enough to probably answer those. So I could take them down as questions and come back for part 3, and we could help get those answered for you.
I'd be more than happy to respond.
Oh, there you are. She's still on. Never mind. Thank you, Perla.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, so, yeah. Does anybody have anything that we didn't get? I'm looking in the chat to make sure. No, nothing. We got nothing from Facebook. So, well, look, I guess we'll keep on pushing forward. If you do have one, though, you got about 30 seconds as I try to wrap up and shut it down. So just throw it in the chat if you do. But we, this was part 2 of our 3-part series that we're doing with Say Yes. The first part, which if you got to see it last week, thank you again for coming back. If you didn't, go take a look at it. Great information from Ryan and myself just about the brand overall. We talked about McDonald's history in the business. Today, we talked about a deep dive in the franchisee. We had Perla and Diane come on. Great. Thank you again for taking the time to come on, explaining their story, their journey. We're talking about franchisee. Next week, Ryan and I will be talking about the corporation side and the supplier. So I know you all been really dying to just hear me and Ryan's personal stories and our journeys through McDonald's. So, like Perla, I'm sure Ryan and I have a story. Probably, I don't know. Ryan's got a better story than me, and I don't know if we both could top Perla, but we'll try to come with something. We'll try to come with something to a small portion comparable, but we'll be talking about that next week. So we would want everyone to come back, tune in, and check it out. So before we close out, we got some more housekeeping issues we got to go for. So Nikki, next slide. So look, we got to ask. We asked at the beginning, after this presentation, I want to hear from you. Okay, I'm sure Ryan does. Everybody wants to hear. Perla wants to hear from you. Well, would you ever work at McDonald's? And same question. And if no, why not? I want to hear. I want to see people who answered before. I can see the chat of who threw the answers in before from the Zoom. And I know we've got a lot of Facebook, but throw us in, let us know, and be honest.
Yeah, be honest. If we didn't change your mind or change your perspective or think we changed that stigma a little bit today, let me know.
Oh, well, look, Nikki said we got lots of yeses from Facebook. We got lots of yeses from Facebook. Well, look, that puts a smile on my face. That's awesome.
Mhm. So one of the things that if we got a lot of yeses on Facebook, one of the things that Chris and I will do next week is we'll try to come prepared. So if you want to apply, we'll have some information for you on how to do so. I know we talked about it last week. Next week, we'll actually come with some materials so that you can apply. How about that?
Look.
So hopefully that'll help it out.
I love it, Ryan. And look, Xavier put in there. I probably would consider it. Seems like a good opportunity. Listen, Xavier. Look, we moved the needle. We moved the needle. Come back next week, and Ryan and I will get you all the way there. I love it. I'm glad.
Yeah, thanks for giving us a shot, Xavier. I mean, that's all we ask for is an open mind, right? Just listen to what we have to say and take it all in. Because I think once people realize what's really out there and they don't realize, they got all these common misconceptions. So thank you for listening and having an open mind.
No, I echo that. Thank you. So look, I got lots of yeses. We got good stuff. I'd probably, everybody might be, again, closing out Zooms, could be driving, doing lots of other things. So again, thank you for being here and participating. If you have any questions as well, feel free to reach out. We'll answer them. Ryan and I will make sure to come back next week to answer them. But the last thing we got to do, though, I got one more thing. And for you all, Nikki, next slide, is time for us to have some fun. So let me get out of here. We are going to play a game. So if you were here last week, we had a fun game that we played. It's a great game. It's going to be a race. So let me just get my screen together. We are gonna see how much information you retain from today. So again, I gave a little hint earlier, a little FYI to take some notes, put some stuff down. Okay, we're gonna have a fun game, and the winner of this game will be able to get a $15 gift card to McDonald's. So let me just get this whole thing set. Okay, and then I will share my screen.
Where should we be heading, Chris? Do you know the website?
Nope, I got it. Yep, I got it. Here we go. Thank you. I was struggling a little bit, but I found it. So everyone, this is called Quizlet Live. So if you could go on your phones, hop on www.quizletlive.live. Yep, get your phone out, right? Or you can scan the bar. Yeah, scan the QR code. I'm an old man, so Ryan's got me. Ryan's definitely getting me together. Hop up in here. We're gonna see how much you know, how much you retain from today. I want to hear. I want to see. And this is not just if you're in the Zoom, if you're in the Facebook. Let's get it going. We'll give it a moment for some people to join in. We got Cindy. And so as people join, I'll explain the way the game works. So you'll be given 12 questions, and you'll be timed. And your goal is to answer all 12 questions right in a row. Okay. If you miss one of those questions, then you will then have to start all over again and try to get those 12 again. The first person to get to 12 wins. Right? Did I explain that well, Ryan?
I got it. I can follow it. And I'm trying to just type in to see if I can race. Can I win?
Yeah. I'm sure there's something for you, Ryan. We'll next week. So look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in here. All right, look, I'll give it 30 more seconds. I'm gonna set my timer. I know everybody's got a lot of stuff going on. $15 seconds. I'm gonna get this started. 10, 9, 8, 7. It's like the ball drop. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are launching. Awesome. Thank you for the people who are participating today. As you can see on the screen, you have been graciously given team names. So I have got frogs, puffins, ostriches, pumas, hedgehogs, chameleons. If we get more people, we'll have the whole animal kingdom on here. So best of luck, everyone, and I hope you enjoy. And we'll be able to see who's racing too. I love this part. Okay. Ostriches and pumas. Frogs. I don't know if people can hear the music, but it is a little catchy. Oh, pumas got it wrong. Oh, frogs. It's competitive this week, Ryan. This
I know, right?
Pumas, 4.
Uh-oh, taking a commanding lead.
Ostriches. Oh, you just got to remember. I think Pumas got it. Pumas is red. Oh.
Uh-oh. Anyone's game. Uh-oh, Hedgehog's
Anyone's
coming
game.
up.
This race is close. Let's see I guess we gotta see who learns the fastest, who picks up the fastest and gets the stuff right.
Oh,
Pumas is coming back.
there.
Pumas said, not today. Pumas.
Taking
Halfway
off.
there. It's not a race, but it's a race.
Ooh, puffins and ostriches.
Ostriches, puffins, tie. Oh, I think Pumas got it because red turned red at 8.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Come on, ostriches and puffins tied. Did I make it too hard, Ryan?
I don't know, man. I guess next week they're gonna have to take better notes. That's all I can say.
I maybe because I said, wow. Heck, some of the questions were from last week too. Pumas is coming back. Pumas said not today.
They learn from their mistakes.
They did. They learned, but that's why we're here. That's why I love it. There's Ryan, everyone came up with this game. I didn't come up with this. He picked it, suggested it, and I actually like it a lot better. We were looking at Kahoot or this, and I prefer this. Pumas, 10. Oh my, Pumas.
Can I
Oh,
close
get
out the
it,
deal?
Puma.
Oh, snap. Look, it is anybody's game today. Wow. I'm gonna have to look at my difficulty next week.
I guess so. Wow.
Maybe. I mean, you have a teaching background, Ryan. I mean, I think this is one of those when you're like, okay, is it time to curve the test?
I think so. I think no more teaching for you.
No more teaching. Got to slow back. Everybody's coming up. Shoot, let me move my thing here. Chameleon is jumping. Pumas is going back up, climbing slow and slow, taking notes. Pumas and ostriches have been at it neck and neck this whole time.
Remember, this is for a $15 gift card.
Yeah, this is for real. We got prizes. So, you can take your time and, be like, hey. Ooh, ostriches. Ooh, let's see. Ooh, the whole pack is learning. I love it. The whole pack. Everybody's pretty much, they're like, look, we're tired of this.
Jumping up.
Ooh, ostriches getting close. Hedgehogs and chameleons gaining. Cool. Keep going. Hedgehogs. We got 8. Ostriches are taking their time. They're thinking. They're like, okay, let me think this
Uh-oh.
through.
Yeah,
They're like, look, let me.
I can't make a mistake at 10. I gotta get it right.
Yep. I wish we could. I mean, I don't know where people are at, or Facebook or Zoom, but shoot, I wish we could. It was like a game show where you could see everybody's faces and reactions the whole time,
Yeah,
like
that'd be
Amazing Race or something like that. I wish I could see people's faces. See
That would be
10
pretty funny.
ostriches just intently there on their phone, like which answer? Jeopardy, lights go. Shoo. Pumas, and oh shoot, what is it? Frogs are sleeping. People were sleeping on frogs. Ostriches. Oh, pumas. Ostriches too?
I don't need to see everybody else's faces. I can just see yours. Like,
I can just, wow. I feel bad. Y'all are making me feel all types of bad now. Ryan, you're in charge of next week.
You got it. Let me carve it into my schedule now.
No, I appreciate it.
I feel like just one question is throwing everyone off and sending them right back
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the question. Some of these questions I was a little, gotta really think.
Got 2 at 9.
Yeah, we got 2 at
They
9.
close it out.
This whole thing is anyone's game.
Get it, Pumas.
Come on, Pumas, frogs. Pumas. Pumas is the winner.
Congratulations.
Underdog. I love it. The whole time came down 5 times, or what is it? Cardi B knocked down 9 times. I get up 10. Look, great job, Pumas.
Jameer, great job.
Jameer, great.
Please
job.
put your contact information in the chat so that we can get you your gift card, please. Thank you so much, sir.
Yep. No, great job, Jameer. So look, well, that is all that I've got. Nikki, I will turn it back over to you to close us out.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. It was great having Chris, Ryan, and Perla to talk all about McDonald's and what the franchise owner does and how we can get there. So thank you all again. Please join us next week, Wednesday, same time, 6 to 7:30, and we hope to see you there. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.